Selamat sejahtera and Vanakkam. Nalini again. We're going to discuss on chapter 13 today and looking into how to prepare and evaluate the challenges of a business growth. So basically, beginning of chapter, we need to look into the learning objective. Today we're going to know where to look for or how to create possible growth opportunities. Second learning objective will be to understand the implication of business growth for a national economy. Third learning objective for this chapter will be to understand the primary challenges for managing business growth and to be prepared to effectively manage those challenges. And last learning objective for this chapter will be to recognize that people differ and to understand how these differences impact their intention to grow. So guys, a successful new entry provides the opportunity for the entrepreneurs to grow his or her business. The chapters present a step-by-step process for generating growth opportunities. Opportunities for new entry are generated by the knowledge of the entrepreneur and from organizational knowledge. The analysis assumes that the entrepreneur and the firm has knowledge about the existing product and the existing market. Different combination of different level of this type of knowledge create different growth strategies. Let us look into penetration strategies. A penetration strategies focus on the firm existing product in its existing market. This strategies relies on taking market share from competitor and or expanding the existing market. Let us look into market development strategies. Market development strategies focus on new groups of customer, and this group of customer can be categorized in terms of geographic or demographic and or on the basis of new product use. For that, we look into new geographical market. These strategies suggest selling the existing product in new location. This can increase sales by offering the product to customers that have not previously had the chance to purchase the product. Under market development strategies, we also have a new demographic market. We can divide the market in terms of new demographic. So new demographic here means demographics are used to categorize customer based upon their income, where they live, their education, age and gender and so on. The business might grow by offering the same product to a different demographic group. New product use. An entrepreneur might find out that people use its product in a way that was not expected. This may know how the product may be valuable to new group of buyer. The test uses the example of how consumers found new uses for baseball bats and four-wheel drive vehicle. Knowledge of this new use allowed the producer to modify their product to better satisfy customer. That is all about market development strategies. So student, now you understand how to apply the strategies for new market development. Let us look into product development strategies. When we talk about product development strategies, these strategies definitely going to focus on the product that you already offer to the market. Customer experience provide knowledge on the problems customer have with existing technology. Another benefit is capitalizing on existing distribution system and on the corporate reputation of the firm. Let us look into diversification strategies. The value chain captures the step it takes to develop raw materials into a product and get it into the hand of the customer. Value is added at every stage. Value is added at every stage of the chain. Each firm makes some profit in each level of the chain. In backward integration, the manufacturer also becomes a raw materials wholesaler. In essence, the firm becomes its own supplier. In forward integration, the firm also becomes a finished goods wholesaler. In essence, the firm becomes its own buyer. These two strategies provide opportunities to grow the business. The entrepreneur could have some advantage over others because of the firm's existing knowledge base. Being one own supplier and buyer creates synergy by conducting this transaction more efficiently than independent firm. Operating as a supplier and or buyer provide learning opportunity that can lead new process or new product improvement. Operating as a supplier and or buyer provides learning opportunities that can lead to new processes or new product improvement. Horizontal integration. If the products are complementary, the firm will likely have some competence in the new product. Horizontal integration provides the opportunity to increase sales of existing products, for example, through bundling. Some entrepreneurs seek to diversify into unrelated products or market. To diversify their risks, this is usually a mistake. What will be the implication of growth of certain business to the firm? Definitely, the firm will get benefit from the advantage of size in terms of higher volume increases the production efficiency. Size also enhances the legitimacy of the firm. But as the firm grows, its chance introducing a number of managerial challenges also increase. Besides that, pressure on existing financial resources also have to take into account. Investing in growth means that firm financial resources are stretched thin. So resource lack is required to ensure against environmental shocks. Besides that, the firm growth also gives pressures on human resources. If employees are spread too thin by growth, then the firm will face problem of employee morale, employee burnout, and an increase in employee turnover. An influx of a large number of new employees will likely dilute the corporate culture. Besides that, there will be a pressures on the management of employee. Many entrepreneurs find that as the ventures grows, they need to change their management style. If the entrepreneur retains exclusive decision making, the success of a growing venture can be endangered. In order to survive, the entrepreneur will need to consider some managerial changes. While the firm is growing or the business venture is growing, the entrepreneur should take care of pressures on the entrepreneur's time, how to manage the time. Time pressures are especially common to entrepreneurs who are growing their business. Time is the entrepreneur's most precious yet limited resources. It is totally perishable and irreplaceable. Time devoted to growth must be diverted from other activities. Means that a full concentration and full focus of entrepreneur should be into the growth of his or her business venture. So let us look into ways or means overcoming pressures on existing financial resources. To overcome pressures on existing resources, the entrepreneur could acquire new resources. New resources required can be reduced through better management of existing resources. So when we talking about financial resources, okay, how to control these financial resources, the entrepreneur needs to know how to provide appropriate controls to ensure that projection and goals of the business are met. Some financial skills are needed for the entrepreneur to manage during early years. For an entrepreneur, an up-to-date assessment of cash position such as monthly cash flow statement is very much needed. The cash flow statement may show the actual amounts next to the budgeted amounts. It is useful for adjusting the pro forma and indicating potential cash flow problems. Comparing between budgeted or expected cash flow with actual cash flow can provide an assessment of potential cash needs and indicate possible problems in management of asset and control of the cost. Let us look into managing inventory. This is a very crucial and very important element when you are operating a business. Too much inventory can be drained on cash flow. On the other hand, too little inventory to meet customer demands can also cause the venture in lost sales, or it can create unhappy customers. Growing ventures typically tie up more cash in inventory than in other parts of the business. An inventory control system allows the company to monitor key figures such as inventory turnover and percentage of customer complaint. Perpetual inventory system can be structured using computers or a manual system. As items are sold, inventory should be reduced. The entrepreneur can use efficient electronic data interchange. The entrepreneur can use efficient electronic data interchanges between producers, wholesalers, and retailers. This can help them and help the firms to communicate with one and another. Linking firms in computerized system is possible using a software system called Efficient Consumer Response is much more needed. Supply chain members work together to manage demand, distribution, and marketing. Computerized checkout machines are usually part of this system. Transportation mode selection is also important in inventory management. Some transportation modes such as air are very expensive. Careful management of inventory can minimize transportation costs, especially for agriculture produce. Anticipating customer needs can avoid stock outs and the unexpected cost of meeting customer immediate needs. Let us look into how to manage a fixed asset. Fixed assets generally involve long-term commitment and large investment for the new venture. Fixed asset has certain costs related to the firm, such as depreciation. If the entrepreneur cannot afford to buy equipment or fixed asset, leasing could be an alternative. Leasing may be a good alternative to buying depending on the term of the lease and type of the asset. Leases of automobiles may be more expensive than a purchase. However, lease payment represent an expenses and can be used as a tax deduction. Lease are also valuable for equipment that become obsolete quickly. The entrepreneur should consider all costs associated with lease or buy decision as well as impact on cash flow. How to manage as an entrepreneur should be very good in managing cost and profit. An interim income statement helps to compare the actual with the budgeted amount for that period. The most effective use of interim income statement is to establish cost standards and compare the actual with the budgeted amount for that particular period of time. Costs are budgeted based on percentage of net sales. This percentage can be compared with actual percentage to see where higher cost control may be necessary. This lets the entrepreneur manage the control cost before it is too late. In later years, it is also helpful to look back on the first year of operation and make comparison month to month. When expenses or costs are much higher than budgeted, the entrepreneur may need to determine the exact cost. Comparison of actual and budgeted expenses are misleading for a venture with multiple products or services. For financial reporting purpose, the income statement summarizes expenses across all products and services. Marketing costs for each product, the most profitable product are indicated. Allocating expenses over product lines should be done as effectively as possible to avoid arbitrary allocation of costs. Bear in mind GST, government service tax. As an entrepreneur, they have to pay certain amount of tax to the government. The entrepreneur will be required to withhold federal and state taxes for employees and make deposits to the appropriate agency. Federal taxes, state taxes, social security and medical care are withheld from employees' salaries and deposited later. The entrepreneur should be careful not to use these funds since there are penalties for late payment. The new venture may also be required to pay state and federal unemployment taxes. Federal and state government will require the entrepreneur to file end of the year return of the business. For an entrepreneur, record keeping is more important. A software package can enhance a flow of financial information. It may also be necessary to enlist the support and services of an accountant. A system for storing and using customer information becomes vitally important. As the number of customers increases, it is also no longer feasible to rely on the memory of individual salespeople. A database can increase the capacity to hold and process information and accumulate bits of knowledge contained within different individuals. Thus, organizational knowledge is accessible to everyone within the firm. Customer information should be retained in the database, which include information on a contact person as well as important account details. Now, students, let us look into ways and means on overcoming pressures on the existing human resources. Most new ventures do not have a luxury of human resource department that can interview, hire or evaluate employees. Most of these decisions will be the responsibility of the entrepreneurs and key employees. Some entrepreneurs are using professional employee organization which handle recruiting, hiring, setting up benefit programs, payroll, and even firing decision. But for beginning as a startup venture, normally the decision will be made by the entrepreneur itself. Another key decision is what proportion of the workforce should be permanent and what proportion should be a part-time. A greater percentage of part-time workers represent a lower fixed cost which provide greater flexibility. However, personal instability is more likely because turnover is typically higher and part-time workers are less committed to the firm. Building a functional organizational culture is more difficult when depending on part-time workers. A difficult decision for entrepreneurs to make is the firing of incompetent employees. Employees should be given feedback on a regular basis and any problem should be identified. Continued problems with the employee that necessitate a firing decision should be well documented. The firm human resource strategies also must address how to maintain the corporate culture despite the influx of new employees. The entrepreneur must be the role model of the culture. In the case of rapid in cases of rapid growth, the entrepreneur's work can be complemented by the work of a cultural ambassador. Now let us look into overcoming pressures on the management of employees. Managing change is often a complex task and better undertaken with a participative style of management. A participative style of management is one which the entrepreneur involves others in the decision-making process. So when we look into the participative style of management, what are the advantages when an entrepreneur involves others in decision-making process? Simply, involving others in decision-making is a way of reducing the information processing demands on the entrepreneurs. Highly qualified managers and employees help find new ways to tackle current problems. If employees are involved in decision-making process, they are more motivated to implement the decided course of action. In most cultures, employees enjoy the added responsibility of making decisions, enhancing job satisfaction. As an entrepreneur, establishment of team spirit, which involves the belief by everyone in the organization that they are in this thing together. Communicate with employees. Open and frequent communication with employees builds trust and diminish fear. This communication is two-way street. The entrepreneur must listen to what is on the mind of his or her employees. The entrepreneur should frequently provide constructive feedback to employees. The entrepreneur should also seek feedback from others. Key employees must be given the flexibilities to take the initiative and make decisions without the fear of failure. The entrepreneur must create a culture that values and rewards employees for taking initiative. Employees' abilities and capacities to improve their own performance is increased by training. The employees should be involved in the decision about training session topics. Let us see now how to overcome pressures on the entrepreneur's time. The entrepreneur reaps numerous benefits from effectively managing his or her time. Benefit of time management simply increase productivity, reflect the fact that there is always enough time to accomplish the most important things. Time management also will increase the job satisfaction There will be improved interpersonal relationship, and others in the company will experience less time pressure, better results, and great job satisfaction. The entrepreneur will experience less time anxiety and tension. All these benefit all this benefit definitely will give a better health for the entrepreneur. So let us look into basic principle of time management. First, principle of desire. The first step is recognizing that one is the time wasted, that time is important resources, and that a change in personal attitude may be needed. Principle of effectiveness. Whenever possible, an entrepreneur should try to complete each task in a single session, which require that enough time to be set aside to accomplish that task. This eliminates time wasted in catching up to where on left off. Principle of analysis. The entrepreneur should track his or her time over a 2-week period using timesheet with 50-minute intervals, and then analyze how time has been spent, where time has been wasted, and how these time traps can be avoided in future. Principle of teamwork. Delegation becomes increasingly important. The entrepreneur must help members of the management team be more sensitive to time management. Principle of prioritized planning. Each day the entrepreneur should list tasks and give each a priority. This focus on key issues allows one to accomplish the most important things. The last but not the least, principle of reanalysis. Entrepreneurs can often improve their time management by finding opportunities for delegation. The purpose of all committees should also reanalyzed to ensure that the way still provide value. Implication of firm growth to the entrepreneur. A firm growth introduces a number of managerial challenges for the entrepreneur. Some entrepreneurs lack the abilities to make the transition to a more professional management approach. Others aren't willing to focus on the tasks necessary to successfully grow the firm. Some entrepreneurs do not pursue growth because they believe profitability and survival are sacrificed. Entrepreneurs can be categorized in terms of 2 dimensions. An entrepreneur's ability to successfully make the transaction to more professional management practices. Second, an entrepreneur growth aspiration. 4 types of firm growth outcomes are identified. Actual growth of the firm. Entrepreneurs in the upper right quadrant have both necessary ability to make transaction and aspiration to grow the business. These are the most likely to achieve firm growth. Unused potential for growth. Entrepreneurs in the upper left quadrant possess the necessary abilities but do not aspire to do so. A relatively large portion of all lifestyle firms fall here. Constrained growth. Entrepreneurs in this lower right quadrant want to grow their business but do not possess sufficient ability to do so. These entrepreneurs are in the most danger of failure because growth may outstrip the entrepreneur's abilities to cope. One option is for the entrepreneurs to replace himself or herself as the CEO with the professional manager. Little potential for the firm growth. Entrepreneurs in the lower left quadrant neither possess the necessary abilities to make the transition nor the aspiration to grow their business. This firm may actually perform better if they remain at a smaller scale. Although the entrepreneur's abilities and existing resources can limit growth, the resources necessary can be acquired externally. External growth mechanisms include joint venture, acquisition, and mergers. Each provide different advantage and disadvantage, but require the entrepreneurs to negotiate a new relationship. We will look into joint venture, acquisition, mergers, and franchising in next chapter. We end our chapter today with saying, potong. Okay, student, we already end of the chapter. I hope you get some insights and some understanding how to manage your business when it's growing, and what type of challenges you might be facing and how to overcome. And you also been explained and exposed with strategies that might be used to expand or enhance our business. See you next week. Signing off, Nalini Arumugam. Vanakkam. Student, I think you all very happy after listening to my boring lecture. Let us conclude our chapter with a simple question, and this will be your assignment or homework that you need to submit into the system. So the question is, are you a time waster or time saver? What time management techniques do you use? How can you better manage your time? So your answer will be vary. I know that. So just for us to practice now in managing our time. See you next week. Signing off, Nalini Arumugam. Vanakkam.